Good evening, I'm Debbie Cooper.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes, and here's what's making news right now.
We will not put up with him ever putting the uniform on again.
Protesters say RNC officer Doug Snellgrove has to go.
Yes, people should be angry.
A former judge weighs in on the protests over Snellgrove's acquittal.
I think there's anger.
Cellist by profession, airplane builder and pilot by passion.
I love this stuff. How can you not do what you love to do?
Looking forward to that. Here in the weather department, we are watching some flurries that are going to roll across the island tonight. A much cooler Tuesday shaping up, and then another system Wednesday that'll have snow mixing to rain for many. The details are coming up.
We begin tonight with the acquittal of a police officer that has sent a ripple effect throughout the community. Constable Doug Snellgrove was found not guilty of sexual assault late Friday. The verdict has sparked public outrage. A large protest was held outside RNC headquarters in St. John's this afternoon. And here now's Jen White was there. She joins us now live. So Jen, what was the mood like?
Well, Carolyn, it was a peaceful but passionate protest. About 150 people gathered out here earlier today in the cold, carrying their signs and chanting loudly.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
The protesters had a clear message. They want Constable Doug Snellgrove fired. Snellgrove had been accused in 2014 of sexually assaulting a woman after driving her home from the downtown area where she'd been drinking while Snellgrove was on duty. But this wasn't the first protest over this contentious verdict. About an hour after the decision was delivered on Friday night, a group gathered outside Supreme Court in St. John's. And some explicit graffiti was spotted this weekend along Duckworth Street. Protesters on Friday and again today had a similar message. Here's some of what they had to say at today's demonstration.
I don't feel that he should be able to keep his job. If he is to serve and protect us, I don't think that we have that trust in the police force anymore if they will continue to employ him.
Bad apples do spoil a bunch, and I think this is where police chief needs to step up and show that he does support the community. He does support the women who are being affected by sexual assault, and by firing his ass.
We will not put up with him ever putting the uniform on again. We understand that there's a process and all of that that's happening, and that's fine, but we needed to create space and time for people to come together, have their voices heard, have this conversation about consent, move a little bit more further, and to just also let the RNC know that there's no way that people are going to feel safe if this man is ever let back in any kind of, I'm talking desk duty, any of it. It'll be a scar on the face of the RNC.
Okay, so Jen, where do things go from here for the protesters?
Well, Carolyn, the St. John's Women's Center is planning a public forum. Executive Director Jenny Wright says she's hoping to gather together police officers, government officials, taxi drivers, business owners, and other community groups. And she says she wants to harness this public outrage to find solutions for public safety for our community. Now, planning on that started this afternoon, and Wright says she's hoping to hold the forum within the next few weeks. Carolyn?
Thanks, Jen. That's here now's Jen White reporting live tonight. Well, after the protest played out at the steps of the RNC headquarters, two protesters got to take their concerns directly to one on-duty RNC officer. It was a chance encounter. A mounted RNC constable, a woman, was on patrol in the neighborhood just up the street from where the rally took place. The protesters struck up a conversation with the officer about what happened at the rally. Here's what they had to say.
We're actually talking about the protests that we just attended, and I just wanted to know woman to woman what her take was on it, how she felt. I wanted to thank her for her support, because she does support us. So just wanted to thank you once again. You're very well, woman.
It must be kind of a strange time to be an RNC officer right now. How are you feeling about it all?
It is a very odd time, I have to say, but it is still encouraging for us as police officers that despite the rally and despite things that are going on, that we still feel that we are encouraged and that we feel that the public can certainly still come forward with any complaints, and we'll investigate to the best of our abilities, and hopefully all we can hope is for the best possible outcome, but at least keep some positive in amidst all the negativity that's going on right now.
Well, as for the RNC, Police Chief Bill Janes released a statement on Facebook. He says, "I can confirm that we have received a public complaint regarding Snellgrove's conduct." He adds that discipline would be given to Snellgrove following the Public Complaints Commission process. Janes added the process will resume again subject to any appeal as determined by the Crown. That has to happen within 30 days of Friday's verdict. Once the public complaint process is finished, Janes says a decision on the discipline will be made, which could include dismissal of Carl Snellgrove. Janes finishes by saying, "Some of the details that came out during this trial were undoubtedly hard to hear, and I want to assure you that these matters will be taken very seriously as part of the public complaints process." Well, we have lots more on this story tonight. In 20 minutes, a former judge from this province who sat on the bench in Toronto weighs in on whether changes are needed to sexual assault cases before the courts.
In other news tonight, one man is dead after a snowmobile crash in the White Bay community of Jackson's Arm. The accident happened yesterday. The RCMP say one snowmobile was involved. The man was found dead when emergency officials arrived at the scene around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
A frightening scene on the Northern Peninsula. Last week, a 7-year-old boy was pinned under this burning snowmobile. Perry Sturge said his son Ethan was riding in Great Bra when something happened and the machine tipped over. Sturge grabbed his son by the arm and pulled him out from under it in just the nick of time. His clothes were soaked in gasoline by the time his father got him free. They're not sure why the snowmobile caught fire.
Well, the Norcon Galatea will be towed to port and inspected before returning to service. A Cormorant helicopter rescued 5 people yesterday from the ferry, which was adrift off the south coast. The vessel had run out of fuel. Attempts were made to refuel at sea, but the owners say those attempts failed. The company says the captain decided to contact search and rescue and have the crew taken off for safety reasons.
Well, it's not your typical way to break into a place. Would-be thieves used a stolen tractor to tear a hole into the side of the Laurier Club on Hamilton Avenue in St. John's. When police arrived, they found a man driving a John Deere that had been reported stolen earlier that night from the Pleasant Street area. Police say that man ran away. A second man had left the area in a dark-colored car before officers arrived, according to a witness. Nothing was stolen from the building.
Well, at first, new MHAs wanted bigger pensions, but now some MHAs are saying their pensions are too big. It was a hot topic at the House of Assembly today as it opened, and Here and Now's Peter Cowan has been covering this and is live at Confederation Building. So, Peter, what's really going on here?
Well, Carolyn, you may remember back in December that MHAs were saying, look, they wanted to keep their gold-plated pension plans, even though an independent report said that they should have to take a cut. And boy, did they get an earful from constituents, so they backed off from that and said, okay, we'll agree to the cut. But today, the Liberal caucus wrote to the Management Commission and said, you know what? We want to take an even bigger cut. We want to scrap the defined benefit plan so they would no longer get a guaranteed payout in retirement and instead take a defined contribution plan. They say that would save government about $5 million. And certainly that was the part of what we heard today was that backlash that the MHAs got was one of the reasons that they made this move.
Given the climate that we're in and given the concerns that were expressed, I'm sure that members of both the government caucus and the official opposition, all parties, that they heard this, listened to it, and may have guided them in trying to come up with something different that to put forward.
So, Peter, there was an independent commission that looked at pensions and pay for MHA. So why do they want to go beyond that and take more of a cut?
Well, that was the big question today from the PCs and the NDP, who said, wait a minute, we have this independent process. The Liberals made presentations to this committee, and at that time they weren't calling for this cut to pensions. So both the opposition parties are saying, let's stick with those original cuts. And Lorraine Michael says that what's really at play here is politics.
Now, because there's continued questions out there, now I think they're backtracking but trying to look like, okay, we're doing something better than the committee. And that really upsets me. I think it's politics the whole way instead of dealing with the objective work that was done by the committee.
So the big question now is, if the politicians are taking this cut to their pensions, will they be asking civil servants to do the same thing? The Premier insists today that no, that's not the case, that the existing pension plan for civil servants will stay. But this is also a move that gives the governing Liberals a bit of an inoculation against other cuts they may be asking the civil service to make as they try and wrestle this huge deficit down as part of the negotiations. So as we go forward, you can certainly expect the line from MHAs to be, well, look, we've had to take a big cut here, so it's only fair that we ask you to do the same thing. Reporting live at Confederation Building, I'm Peter Cowan for Here and Now.
What's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, wrote Shakespeare. Well, today there was no Shakespeare or roses, but there was a name change at Confederation Building. The short-lived Department of Tourism, Industry and Innovation now has culture added back into the title after many complaints about the omission.
Culture is so much more than just cultural industries. It is our identity, it is who we are. So the intrinsic value of culture, as it has been in the past, will be highlighted in the departmental name, Tourism, Culture, Industry and Innovation.
Did you order any letterhead or business cards between last week and today?
There were no expenditures based on the departmental reorganizational change last week.
The jury in a murder trial in Grand Falls, Windsor has reached a verdict. It's taken 4 years for the charge to get through the court, but now a conviction. Here now's Chris Ensing reports.
A jury has found Wanda Ash guilty of manslaughter. They read the verdict earlier this morning at the Supreme Court in Grand Falls, Windsor, and that's pretty much all I can say because of a sweeping publication ban placed on the trial by the courts.
We can take you back to where this all started. Grand Falls, Windsor, a Sunday morning, 2013. Police tape wrapped around Jason Skinner's apartment. RCMP found him with serious injuries the night before. He died in hospital. Skinner was 34. His family remembers him as a helpful neighbor with a bright smile. Skinner dealt with drug addiction but was about to start a treatment program to fight his demons, the family says. He died the week before it started. Skinner's aunt says today's verdict is justice.
That was always our fear, that would anything come of this. She was originally charged with first-degree murder, and obviously it's now manslaughter that she's being charged with, and we see that as justice. Justice for Jason is always what we would talk about, and it's a little bit of justice for Jason here that she's not getting away with it.
This is Wanda Ash. She'll be held in custody until sentencing, and here is Pamela Pike, also charged with the murder of Skinner. Her trial starts in a couple of months, and that's why there's a publication ban on the details of Ash's trial.
Ash is expected to appear before a judge in April for sentencing nearly 4 years to the day Skinner died. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Grand Falls, Windsor.
A St. John's man has been convicted of aggravated assault on a police officer, a break and enter into a pub, and 4 other charges. 32-year-old Gordon Bishop had dragged the officer with his car as he made his escape. And here now's Glenn Payette is on this story tonight. He joins us now live. Glenn?
Well, I think it's fair to say that this conviction is some good news today for the RNC. One of their own was pretty badly injured while trying to apprehend Gordon Bishop. At trial, Constable Kathy Snowgrove said she was one of the officers who responded to the break-in at the Peter Easton pub. It was January 2nd, 2015. There, she spotted a car with its passenger side door open and the dome light on. Snowgrove said she yelled, "Stop, police," leaned into the car and tried to grab the keys. The driver took off with Snowgrove hanging half in and half out of the car. She said she couldn't pull herself in, so she let go. Today, Justice Alphonsus Fowler said the evidence was circumstantial, but believes Bishop was behind the wheel. A watch with Bishop's DNA was found outside the pub, and witnesses testified they could recognize him from video surveillance from inside the pub. Bishop was also convicted of charges from later that day when the police had him under surveillance and he smashed into a police cruiser in the parking lot at Riverview Apartments on Hamilton Avenue. Another officer was injured that time. Bishop escaped but would be taken into custody a few days later without incident. Well, Gordy Bishop has a long criminal record. He'll be sentenced on these latest charges April 18th. Reporting live from St. John's, I'm Glenn Payette for Here and Now.
The classical musician who spends his spare time building airplanes. That story after the break. Welcome back. Time for the first forecast of the week. There's a rumor going around that there was lightning last night.
Yeah,
and thunder, but I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it either, no.
You may not have heard the thunder, but you probably heard me. Thunder! I just heard thunder! And my wife, keep it down, keep it down.
Yes, you wouldn't want the little one up again.
Yeah. So yeah, we had some a line of storms kind of roll across the Avalon last night, which have a look at the radar here. This was the line. that again swept through. Note your timeline at the top right corner. So it was in that, rumbles as early as the 9:30 to 10 o'clock time period, but really when the line moved through Metro, it was closer to midnight. So yeah, most of us were sound asleep at this point, but a few strikes there over the southeast Avalon near the Metro region just before midnight. And then that line pushed through pretty quickly and moved off shore as we rolled towards the 1 a.m. time period. You know, lightning is rare here any time of year, and I'll show you this map courtesy of Environment Canada. This is the flashes per square kilometer per year from 1999 to 2013. And yeah, in the blue, further to the east, not a lot of flashes per square kilometer as the year as a whole. You take a look at southern Ontario there, where towards Windsor, more than 3 strikes per square kilometer every single year. But our average first strikes of the season are very early here. Our season, although we don't get a ton of lightning, is very long here, ranging from those first strikes February 1st to March 15th for southeastern Newfoundland is typically when we see those first strikes. And again, the season gets later and later as you work your way away from that Gulf Stream. And our season is very late. The last strikes, November 1st to December 15th. So again, not an active season, but a long one here in Newfoundland. If you want to take a look at those maps in more detail, you can check out my blog, cbc.ca/Ryan Snodden. No lightning or thunder on the go today. It's been pretty chilly out there today. -2 right now is the high, or the temperature, I should say. Sustained winds right now in that 20 to 40 kilometer per hour range. We're looking at some gusts still just shy of 60 here in St. John's and across most of that Atlantic coastline, all the way from McCulloch to the Metro region. As we back things out, again, fairly quiet, but I am watching this trough line, which is going to sweep across the island tonight. It's going to be firing up some flurries. We'll continue to see those onshore flurries tonight along the west coast. This will help enhance that, and could pick up as much as 5 centimeters for the west coast tonight, a couple more centimeters through the day tomorrow. Everyone else, it's going to be enough that you can pretty much dust things off the car with that snow brush in a hurry tomorrow morning for central and the east. That said, wouldn't be surprised if we do see a few flurries for that morning commute hanging on. St. John's, the northeast coast in particular, slighter risk into central. And then Tuesday afternoon, not looking too bad. Again, slight risk of a flurry in the west coast, also a risk of a flurry for you folks in Lab West. We'll then watch that mess move in Wednesday into Thursday, talking about snow on the leading edge for the commute home on Wednesday, a transition over to some rain from west to east as well. We're going to talk about that coming up in your long-range forecast, so stay tuned. Temperatures tonight, anywhere from -22 in Lab West, -8 on the west coast. Note the low here in St. John's, -1. That will also be our daytime high. Temperatures will drop through the day, and by the afternoon, we're going to be looking at temperatures similar to what we're seeing in central and west, which is -4 to -5 into the afternoon and evening hours. Temperatures near the minus double digits for most of Labrador with sun and cloud. Where again, note those winds still a little on the breezy side, gusts 50 to 60 through the day tomorrow. Long-range details right through to next weekend. Coming up, Debbie.
Thanks, Ryan. Teo Weber is principal cellist of the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra, but he is also passionate about airplanes, so much so he pilots a biplane that he built with his own hands. Here's our Weekend AM and CBCNL YouTube segment, What Are You At?
When you play a concerto with an orchestra, when you're out there, there's maybe 1,000 people in the audience, and they're listening to you. They're focused on what you're doing intensely. There's something about that that's similar to flying a plane. You know, you're doing something that if something bad happens, it's very public. My name's Teo Weber. I'm a cellist by trade. I'm the principal cellist of the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra. I've always been interested in building things. But then I started to become more and more interested in metalworking. And that is very unusual to have doing something like that along with playing classical music because of these. We are now in my shed at my house. And we are looking at Corbin Junior Ace, the designs from the 1920s. It was one of the very, very first, well, you want to call it a kit plane. It's not really a kit plane because there's no kit for it, but there are plans, and you would buy the plans. And this is the second plane that I've actually had in here. I built a plane a few years ago. That plane's flying, by the way. So I'm looking forward to doing the same with this plane eventually. This is a two-seater. My other plane's a one-seater.
Oh, so you could have some company up.
I can have some company, yeah. Anyone who's crazy enough to get into a plane that somebody else built in their shed, certainly free to go along with me. That's the real definition of faith, I gotta say, when you're sitting at the end of the runway and you give her the gas like you mean it. And I just remembered my last thought was, boy, I might be dead in 2 minutes. You know, I might be. That's it. And it went great. It was fantastic. Yeah, the rudder pedal's here. This is what you put your feet on when you're flying. And when you press on the left one, it puts the rudder over to the left and makes the plane go to the left. And when you put it on the right one, it's like a sailing ship, right? Same idea. This controls your yaw in the air. So this is it's a Lycoming O235, and it's specifically made for an aircraft. I mean, as opposed to other engines that are put on where they convert automobile engines. It's actually quite safe. I mean, flying. I mean, you look at how many planes are up in the air at any given time, and you hardly ever hear of anything happening. But you know, I love this stuff. How can you not do what you love to do?
That is so cool.
It really is. What an interesting combination of talents.
Exactly, and I think I saw a big long scarf hanging on a hook in the background as he's flying.
One of those hats with ears coming down. Yeah.
Now you can see all the What Are You At features on our CBCNL YouTube channel.
And from this day forward, you'll also be able to see Here and Now there as well. So you can go over to the YouTube page and search for CBCNL and hit subscribe on the right-hand side.
The RNC headquarters was the site of a protest by more than 150 people today. After the break, a retired Newfoundland judge weighs in on his sexual assault acquittal. Now back to our top story, the anger over the Doug Snellgrove acquittal. My next guest spent years viewing the judicial system from the judge's side of the courtroom. Marie Corbett is a Newfoundlander who is a retired Superior Court trial judge. She has published a memoir called January, a woman judge's season of disillusion. It offers a rare and openly critical insight into our criminal justice system. The Honorable Marie Corbett now divides her time between her home in Avondale and Florida, which is where we have reached her today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
It is clear, Marie Corbett, that people are so angry with the results of this court case. There's been crude graffiti and impromptu protest after the decision came down on Friday. Another one today at police headquarters. Should people be angry?
Yes, people should be angry. I think you have to divide the anger into two components. I think there's anger and disappointment at the outcome of the trial, and that's a criminal justice system in terms of the sexual assault trials. And then, of course, there is the crisis created by the disappointment of the verdict and the actions of the police officer in question.
Let's delve a little deeper into this, because this case hinged on the question of consent. What does the law say about consent and when it can and can't be given?
Sexual assault is a crime if there is sexual activity without the consent of the complainant. The problem is that in this particular case, the complainant testified, if I read the press results correctly, that she didn't know if she consented or not. And the prosecution has to prove that this complainant did not consent beyond a reasonable doubt. So first of all, you're proving a negative, which is very difficult. Even though the criminal law does say that it is not valid consent if the complainant is incapable of consenting, or indeed if the accused engages in activity or abuses a position of power or authority or trust. And that is the problem between the law on the books and the law in action.
Do the courts hold people in a position of trust to a higher standard during a trial and in sentencing?
Well, yes, they do. Absolutely. The difficulty is that the onus is on the Crown to prove that this person didn't consent. It seems to me that it's time to rethink the law and perhaps change it so that if there are certain circumstances that exist, for example, if the person is incapable of consenting, and that could be through alcohol or drugs. It could also be that because you have some intellectual or physical handicap in some way. In other words, these are vulnerable complainants. And then if an accused person is indeed in a position of authority, and three, perhaps if the the accused and the complainant do not know each other, well, why not put some kind of burden or onus or shift so that the accused person has to show that the complainant consented? It's very difficult when it's turned around to prove I didn't consent, as opposed to showing that there was consent beyond a reasonable doubt. It's dealing with negatives.
Related to this point that you're making, a lot of people very unhappy with the way the woman at this trial was questioned about how much she drank. Did she consent to sex? And some feel it is victim shaming. What is your view on that?
Oh, cross-examination is brutal, absolutely brutal. And it's related to all the what we call rape myths. And laws have been changed to try and do something about this. But in fact, cross-examination is still enormously wide, and it's very difficult to withstand its brutality. I would like to say, though, that next week in Ottawa, there is a large conference put on by the Ministry of Justice and the Policy Center for Victim Issues. And there are representatives there from all across the country. And the topic is the criminal justice system's responses to sexual assault against adults. And I don't know if the ministry of Justice in Newfoundland will be attending. But if there is to be changes in procedure and law, this is a perfect time to deal with Ottawa. After all, the criminal code is federal legislation, and any substantive changes have to come there.
One of the chants at the rallies today was blame the system, not the victim. Do you think, Marie Corbett, that the system can be changed?
I 1000% believe they can be differently handled by the courts. There's been an outcry in provinces all across the country. This is not a local issue. This is a time for dramatic change.
Well, it's certainly a topic, as you say, not just here in this province, but across the country. For those people who are protesting and rallying in our province, what should they do with all that anger they have?
Well, I suppose protesting is democracy in action, and that is good. There is a process to be played out here, that there will be disciplinary proceedings. I believe that the public should participate in those proceedings to the extent that they can. There's been a huge outcry. It's simply not going to be ignored in any way, and I commend all the persons who did take action to try to restore a measure of confidence in the criminal justice system and in the policing in St. John's.
Marie Corbett, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
We don't care how much he cried. We don't care how much he cried.
More on today's protest at the RNC in St. John's. We'll hear what some of the protesters had to say coming up. Back to our top story, the rally at RNC headquarters in St. John's to protest Constable Carl Doug Snellgrove. He was found not guilty of sexual assault on Friday night after he admitted to having sex with a woman who had been drinking. Snellgrove was on duty at the time. Protesters want to see him fired immediately. Here's what some of them had to say.
We don't care how much he cried. We don't care how much he cried.
The justice system has to change. The laws concerning consent are outdated, and they are completely, you cannot consent when you are drunk. If you are not abled mind, if you're not fully sober, you cannot consent to sex.
Have you lost confidence in the RNC?
Definitely. I mean, I think it was already pretty wavering beforehand, but this is absolutely 100%. Like, we have shown that we cannot call police when we are feeling unsafe or need help. They're not going to protect us.
What do you think would have to happen to restore your confidence in the RNC?
It's tricky. As I said, he should have been fired already years ago when he was charged. So he needs to be fired, ASAP. And then there would have to be an entire, I think, statement from police as well as a change in their training for RNC.
No justice, no peace.
I would not allow a male police officer or 2 male police officers in my home without a female police officer present.
I can't keep quiet. No.
We were all shocked by the news, and we felt like we needed to come and have a place to speak and have a place to heal as a community. I think there needs to be a larger discussion about what consent means, specifically with survivors, and I don't think that's happening right now. I think those folks are the ones who have the most knowledge on what the justice system should look like.
Technically, yes, the jury did vote that he was not guilty. But you gotta look at why did the jury vote that way? Is it lack of education in our society? Or is it something else that's going on?
I mean, growing up in Newfoundland, I was always told, well, if you ever have an issue, run to the RNC. You got to go to the RNC. And now, as a young woman, it's really made you question should I go with them? Should I ask them? It's really just completely shattered what we grew up in.
The weather update is brought to you by Beltone Hearing Service St. John's, helping the world hear better.
Now, before we get to the weather, we were just talking about something that's pretty cool that Here and Now is now on the YouTube channel. So it's pretty easy access if you want to watch it live now.
Yeah, this is the beginning of, this new technology that not new technology, but new for us to be on
that we're taking advantage of.
And this is so cool. He's got it loaded up.
That's right. So if you're on your tablet or you're, heading out, if you're perhaps at swimming lessons, wherever you are, and you want to keep up to date. Again, there's a little bit of delay, but you can see where we are there, just popping up a couple seconds later. So that's pretty cool right now. So Here Now, anytime now on your phone, your tablet, wherever you are, just load us up on your YouTube channel. So on our YouTube channel, and I've got that posted to my Facebook page, and I know CBC does as well. So that's pretty cool stuff right there.
You can watch us on demand over
and
over.
that's the other great thing
again.
Too is if you want to check us out anytime after the show, now you can just load us up on the YouTube channel and scan through the show, which is fantastic as well. So, okay, temperatures right across eastern Canada right now as we look at the setup over the next couple of days and as we try and set up your week. -3 right now in St. John's, but note the warmer air off to the south. 5 in Greenwood, Nova Scotia right now, 8 in Portland, 4 in Montreal, and some of that warmer air is going to be moving into our neck of the woods. Not tomorrow, which remains chilly, but the day after. And Wednesday into Thursday, another warm push coming, snow mixing to rain. Here's how it's all going to play out. We've got this trough off to the west, which is going to swing in from west to east across the province for tonight and across the island in particular, picking things up midnight, overnight, and you can see where we have those flurry chances rolling in with this trough. Those will likely linger into the early morning hours tomorrow. The Avalon, the northeast coast, central Newfoundland runs that risk of seeing a few of those flurries for the morning as well. The west coast will continue to see a chance of flurries blowing in from the Gulf of St. Lawrence right through the day tomorrow. Could pick up 5 centimeters tonight, another couple centimeters possible tomorrow. Everyone else is looking at a sun and cloud mix for tomorrow with just a slight chance of flurries there for you folks in western parts of Labrador. Tomorrow will remain a little on the breezy side. Note those winds are going to be in that 50 to 60 kilometer per hour range for the island, so that will certainly keep the wind chill factor into that minus double-digit range. And we are going to be seeing temperatures start near -1 in St. John's. We're into the -4 to 5 range by the time we get into the afternoon. Minus double digits are on the menu for you folks in Labrador. We're quiet through Tuesday night and in through Wednesday morning. And this is where we're going to see that next system starting to build in with some flurries for Labrador. And then that will turn to some snow as we work into the afternoon. The snow will cross the island. Note your timeline here. through Wednesday afternoon. It's going to be a quick shot of snow, and then it looks like a mix to rain from south to southwest to northeast through Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening. This looks like most of the island will see a change over to rain. Perhaps not the Northern Peninsula. Forecast models have yet to kind of nail down that part of it, but either way, most of the island will start to see those temps rising for Wednesday evening, Wednesday afternoon, that is, into Wednesday evening with that mix to rain. Minus 16 in Lab West with periods of snow tapering off late day. And then look at this. Again, this is a kind of a long stretched out low here. So we have the rain for Wednesday night, more showers and drizzle through the day on Thursday. So this is a longer warm up than what we had on Sunday. We will likely mix back to a bit of an icy mix, possibly some flurries late day on Thursday, but it looks like the rain, drizzle, and fog continues for much of Thursday in central and east before the cold air comes back and pushes back pretty hard Friday into Saturday and Sunday with some lingering flurries for most of us. Labrador, how about that cold air? Minus 20 highs Friday through the weekend in the west.
Bundle up. Let's meet our young athlete of the day. This is Lucas O'Neill, not the yellow-faced one, but little Lucas. He's looking pretty good there. He's 7 years old, lives in Carbonear.
Yes, Lucas is a big hockey fan and really enjoys his time on the ice playing forward. He also plays softball, soccer, and swims.
Way to go, Lucas. You're today's young athlete of the day.
A pilot took ill during an international flight that was diverted to St. John's on the weekend. We'll find out what that meant for the passengers when we come back. Welcome back once again. An international flight had to divert to St. John's after the pilot became sick. A Royal Dutch Airlines flight traveling from Amsterdam to New York City landed at the St. John's Airport Saturday, so the pilot could get medical attention. At last report, the pilot was in stable condition. The 263 passengers as well as crew members were put up in a local hotel.
To the Numphy inquiry now. This afternoon, pathologist Dr. Simon Avis was on the stand. Now, during this segment, he was questioned by Jerome Kennedy, the lawyer for RNC Constable Joe Smythe, about Justice David Rich's report. Now, Avis says Rich misinterpreted him. Here's part of the exchange between Kennedy and Avis.
We know from the evidence obtained from the forensic pathologist, Dr. Avis, that the shot to Dunphy's body is what killed him. The shots to the head were not necessary to render him incapable of causing any harm. Weiss-Smythe continued firing, especially the last shot, which was very close to Dunphy's head, and Dunphy was not moving, makes me wonder why this was done. The third sentence appears to be Justice Rich's sentence. You look rather quizzical when you were asked about whether or not you made these comments to retired Justice Rich. And you indicated no, and I think then your answer actually was that there was a complete misinterpretation. Do you remember that line of questioning?
Yes.
What do you mean by complete misinterpretation?
Well, that if I said anything remotely like this, which I can't believe for a second I did, because that's not me. That's not how I approach things. He must have completely misunderstood everything I said.
So, does that relate to the paragraph as a whole, or just the first couple of sentences?
Well, I mean, if the rest of the paragraph is based on the conclusion from the first couple of sentences, then I guess everything's wrong.
Yeah. So when you say there's not something you would have said, is that from a scientific perspective? Why isn't this something I guess you wouldn't have said?
Because I would have no idea but I don't know which shot was first, which shot was last. And to say, I mean, I just can't make that conclusion that it was the shot to Dunphy's body that killed him.
But you see what Justice Rich is drawing from that is that if you shot him in the body and killed him, why did he shoot him 2 more times in the head, apparently, or shoot him in the head at all?
Well, because simply put, that the shot to the body would not necessarily kill someone, and they therefore remain a potential risk, and so one has to continue shooting until the risk is negated.
That was from the Dunphy inquiry today. Well, Canadian Sunrise Records is bucking the trend and betting on bricks and mortar music stores. The company is taking over 70 HMV locations in malls across Canada. As Renee Filipponi reports, the company president believes he can succeed where others have failed.
I like because it reminds me of the good old days of record stores.
It's the tangible, physical aspect of a CD or record that John Campbell loves. And for him, it's good news that this record store is expanding to 70 new locations across Canada.
But I like coming to a place, usually a smaller place, wherein I can buy my music straight from a human being as opposed to ordering it online.
HMV Canada went into receivership last month. According to court documents, it was losing $100,000 a day as customers turned toward digital media. Sunrise Records is making a bold move and taking over the bulk of its leases.
We believe there's a big hole in Canadian culture without having a big player in physical music. So the timing was right, and it made sense for us to try and grow and expand and hire these people and get the business going again.
The new stores will not only focus on music, but also merchandise, including board games.
But I think the biggest difference is going to be you're going to see vinyl front of store, highly featured, lots of record players.
In Canada, vinyl sales grew by nearly 58% in just 1 year. But it's a niche market, making up only 5% of all physical music sales, like CDs and records. Still, total physical album sales are down, nearly 13%.
I was incredibly excited. This is great news for the music industry.
This music publicist says the move will create more space for Canadian artists to sell records and merchandise, but says there is a real risk.
There's always a long-term risk because you never know what the trends are going to be. You never know what format is going to hit.
Sunrise is offering jobs to hundreds of former HMV employees. They hope to have all the stores up and running by midsummer. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Toronto.
It may be the stuff movies are made of, but a surprise ending at the Oscar ceremony has turned into a full investigation.
I'm sorry. No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
And that was it. In the haze of all the confusion, the cast of the movie Moonlight slowly understood they'd won Best Picture instead of La La Land. Today, as the error cleared, the spotlight turned to the accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers. It's apologized for the error, saying Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty had been given the wrong envelope. The accountants say they print duplicates of all the results. The firm has handled the voting at the Academy Awards for 82 years. It's not known how badly this has damaged their reputation.
Well, it was lights, camera, and action at the Vanity Fair Oscars photo shoot. Stars like Jon Hamm, Katy Perry, and James Corden popped by. More pictures are being unveiled later today and could include some of the night's big winners. Well, if you're a fan of being scared or laughing at other people being scared, you're going to like this.
What?
Oh, yeah! Such a good reaction. We hope Ottawa Senators Captain Erik Karlsson didn't have to make a long, careful putt after that. He had the reaction most people would have, jumping out of his skin at the sight of a lurking alligator. The Senators were in Florida taking on the Panthers last night, and they won.
Happy Gilmore, take two, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, way too close.
That'll be his reaction next time he goes up against the Leafs, too. Okay. Temperatures tomorrow, anywhere from the minus 10 to 14 range across Labrador, though minus 8 in the Straits. Temps in the minus 4 to 5 range for most of the island. We'll start near minus 1 in St. John's, but we'll get to that minus 4 or 5 ranges. Temperatures will actually slide from the morning, and we'll likely get there by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon with those winds shifting to west. And again, some gusts to 60 for most of the island for tomorrow. As we take a look at your viewer picture of the day, you know, we've been talking about lightning in February. How about whale watching
Wow.
in February?
Really? That seems kind of early.
Yeah.
Where is it?
This was taken in Dildo Cove, courtesy of Marilyn Crotty, and you can see the snow in the background there. So, yeah,
Getting an early start on
getting
spring.
a very early start. Yeah,
That's great. Thanks, Marilyn.
beautiful picture.
Yeah. And thanks to all of you for joining us on this Monday. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.